mean, what is this one?
I'm glad you asked.
That's my credo. No regrets.
Back in June, we were supposed to see this fight, the cursed card that was UFC 303, the return of Conor McGregor, which wasn't. We ended up, and a fight that got put on that card and kind of trying to save it. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes was supposed to be the co-main event once upon a time. And one of the weirdest things we've ever seen, a couple hours on about 20 minutes notice, Dan Ige gets called up. Brian Ortega had a stomach problem or something. He had diarrhea. And then he pulls out at the literal last possible minute. Diego Lopes is a badass, still fights. Dan Ige, more of a badass, lives down the road. DMs Hunter Campbell, says, I'm ready to go. They pull him in. And it ended up being a pretty competitive fight, but we knew they were going to rebook Diego Lopes versus Brian Ortega, and now we have it. What better time for those two cats to fight on Mexican Independence Day? Justin, I know we broke this down a couple months ago. I don't remember who you picked, but who are you picking now?
Dude, so yeah, this is a very exciting fight, something I'm really looking forward to. Could be arguably the most entertaining fight of the night. I think we have Mr. No Regrets, Mr. Lopes, who I'm just going to come out and say it. I am a fan of the guy, but I do think that he is one of the most flawed and most overrated prospects in the sport right now. I think technically he's not sound in the striking. He's throwing punches with his chin straight up in the air, and he's done that kind of his whole career. But I will say there's something you can talk technique, and the technique's very important and all that, but you can't attest to the fact that this dude's very strong, I think, for the division. And he's just like a tenacious, he's got that fire under him right now. He's trying to make a name for himself and become this star in the sport. So it's tough when you have a fight like this, a guy in Ortega who has championship experience, 5-round experience. But again, I think this fight being a 3-round fight, that definitely favors Lopes because I don't think Lopez's gas tank is very good. Yeah. And I think given the experience that Ortega has, it would have helped him in this fight. But another thing is, what Ortega are we going to get? Are we going to get a motivated Ortega? Are we going to get an Ortega that's just coming here to make some money and head back to Cali? Mm-hmm. I don't really know what Ortega we're going to get. But after seeing what I saw in the Ige fight and just in multiple Diego fights, he's so technically flawed on the feet. And I think Ortega's good enough on the ground to where he'll be able to counter Lopez's ground game. So I'm going to go with Ortega to land something heavy in rounds 2 or 3. And
he might even heavy.
He might even be down on the scorecards, honestly, and get a late finish in this one. I'm going to go with Brian Ortega to get the stoppage here in round 3.
With his hands?
He might hurt him and get the submission. I'll go with definite answer of Ortega via TKO round 3.
TKO. Yeah, I picked Diego the last time, we did this fight, so that was in June. Although I was very back and forth then, and I'm still very back and forth. I mean, the Ige fight, I don't think you can really take too much from that. You literally had no preparation. You had to weigh. Remember with Ortega, they had to weigh in again. They raised it from 45 to 55, on weigh-in day. I don't even really remember the full backstory. Everyone gave Ortega an excuse for that because it was only 3 or 4 weeks notice. But so much happened within the 24 hours before that fight, 48 hours before the fight. I don't really think you could take too much from it. But like you said, Lopes, for all the hype he's getting, and I get rightfully so, he's an interesting character. He comes out and sparks everyone in 2 minutes. You're going to get some love. But he is very flawed, right? We saw I believe his UFC debut was against Masvar, and he got pretty much controlled for most of the fight. So a guy like Ortega with his grappling background, well, Ortega, not a great offensive wrestler. He doesn't really have great takedowns, right? Obviously, everyone knows with the jiu-jitsu, the submissions off his back, T-City. But it's not like he really is shooting single and double legs and taking a ton of people down, right? So I agree with you that if he could have some success on the feet, he would be able to transfer over to his grappling and possibly get a submission finish on the ground. But, dude, I really don't know. Like, and we saw, like, this guy has an unbelievable chin that's bound to go at some point. This guy's taken life-altering damage in the cage multiple times. And in his most recent fight, we saw Yair clip him badly. We saw Yair nearly finish him. I believe he knocked him down twice in the first round, like 10-8'd him. And then Ortega comes out and he finishes him in the second or third round. So the guy's toughness, his grittiness, I mean, that can't be understated, right? The guy wins fights because of it. And I'm back and forth on this one. I pulled out on the day of, bro. We've never seen it happen, and I really don't know what that says about Ortega's career. The guy has been literally the inactivity. The fact that this guy still has that number right next to his name is batshit insane. Like, the guy never.
That's a great point that you make. The day of pullout, like, bro. I just don't know what kind of Ortega we're gonna see in that. With a guy like Lopez, the momentum he's got. You know what I mean? I feel like Lopez is the safe pick in this one, you know?
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the odds for this fight because before it was nearly like Lopez was like, I think minus 135, minus 125.
I think Lopez is like, I think he's like.
I would assume Lopez, it's a little bit higher.
Lopez minus 170.
Oh, shit. I didn't expect it to be that high. I don't know. I just find that odd, right? Like, I'm not making too like bold of a claim here. We've never seen that. So like I don't know why he didn't pull out the day before when they had to change. Like, he wasn't going to be able to make weight. If they knew he was that sick, like, shouldn't they just said like, oh, like he can't fight? Again, I guess he's a warrior. He was trying to fight through it. And not even the morning. Like, if you wake up in that morning and you feel like you can't fight, then you say you can't fight. Like, bro, they didn't announce that till like 8 p.m. Like, could not have been more late. It literally was like, I think the main card might have started, or the main card was just starting. I think it was 9 something. Ridiculous, right? I'm going to go Diego Lopez. I keep thinking of the Yair fight, like Ortega getting clipped, fighting through it and getting a finish. But I just don't see him doing that. I think Ortega, we've heard that he has grappling credentials, although we haven't really seen it. I'm going to, side that, like, I think that he'll be able to survive the triangle and the submission attempts from Ortega, but I think he'll get it done. I think it'll be a decision. I don't know if he'll knock him out, but I could see maybe he just clips him in the first round, but that's probably what everyone's going to say. So I casual check myself again.